So let's start the class. So we were discussing about the cache. So we said that we have this CPU that is sitting here, and then there is this main memory where there is this infinite amount of memory. And we said that instead of this lady going for here and bringing it back always when the CPU requests, we give some leverage. We say that there is some space to store some frequently used data or some data, whatever this person chooses, in the cache. So, and then we said that let's say okay, I mean it can store 8 bytes or 16 bytes or whatever it is. This is made of a technology called SRAM. We also saw that it's called static random access memory, and this is made of a technology called DRAM. If you haven't understood that, it is fine. But it's just that this is a very, I mean, this is a very expensive memory when compared to this particular memory. And the access times of this particular thing is pretty fast, which means that this might take generally in order of say 1 cycle to 2 cycles to 20 cycles, whereas this might take 100 to 200 cycles, depending on the technology and other things. But it's generally 10x slower when compared to this. But the amount of capacity that this particular memory has is pretty huge. So then we said, what will be stored here? Right? So that's where I think we were discussing. We said, do we store just addresses? So we saw that do we store only addresses from 0x0, 0x0 to 0x7, which means that the first 7 bytes of the program I will store here, and the remaining I will store here. Then it's very straightforward access. I just come here, I see if the address is between this range 0x0 to 0x7. If it is so, then I will access this particular cache and give back the data. If it is anything above 0x7, if it is 0x8 to anything else, I go to the main memory and fetch this data. So this is where we stop. We said that, okay, so this is a fixed address location where if I have 0x0 to 0x7, I store in the cache. Everything else, I store it in the main memory. So I exactly know if it is 0x3, then exactly I know that I have to go to this particular byte and fetch the data. I don't have to do anything else because I know it is 0x0, 0x1, 0x2, 0x3. I know that I have to fetch this particular byte. And if I have 0x9, I go here directly because I know that it will not be in this cache. So let me know if you have understood till now, or if you have any questions, you can answer the poll, or you can let me know if you have any questions regarding this. This was a very simple design. We said that from 0x0 to 0x7, we store it in the cache. Everything else, we store it in the main memory. But then you guys were not happy with that. So you guys were not happy with this design. You said that, okay, then what happens if the program generates addresses 0x8 or 0x9 or 0x10? Then we said, okay, we will use frequently used data. So which means that we will store any byte that is frequently used here. And why do I store frequently used data? You can see that I is frequently used and it is accessed many number of times. So there is this temporal locality, which generally any program adheres to. So temporal locality is not a feature of a hardware, right, of a processor. It is not a feature of a hardware or a processor. Temporal locality is the feature of a program. It is the behavior of a program. Of course, not me. Of course, you can write a program where it does not adhere to temporal locality, but more often than not, most of the programs adhere to temporal locality. And what does temporal locality say? If I access address X at time t, then there is a very high probability that I will access the same address X at time t plus delta t. So if I had accessed address X at, let's say I had accessed address 0x9 at say 100th cycle, then there is a very high probability that I will access 0x9 maybe at say 110th cycle. So that's the probability. So which means that it makes sense for me to store 0x9 in this particular location such that when the second access comes, when the address is accessed for the second time, I know that I don't have to yeah, so when the address is accessed for the second time, I don't have to go to the main memory. I don't have to do it in the main memory. I will find it in the cache. So that's how I'm designing a cache. But now we'll see how to actually design this cache, right? So we said that we have this CPU, and the CPU is generating addresses. We have cache, which is storing 8 bytes of location. So it can store any 8 bytes. So it can store 8 bytes of data. And then there is this off-chip main memory, which can store infinite, let's say, some huge amount of data. Okay. So now we have 8 bytes of data that can be stored here. Now the question is, let's say I fetched an address, say 0x3e. Right? I brought the byte 0x3e and kept it here. So what I am storing here is the data for 0x3e. Right? And then maybe the CPU generates, so this maybe the GPU generated an access for 0x8. So maybe I fetched 0x8 and kept it here. So which means that I kept 0x8 here. Right? And then CPU again generated 0x3. So now CPU has generated 0x3. So it is asking the girl to fetch 0x3. Now, how does this girl search in the cache 0x3? Now that's the question that we have to answer. So you have kept 0x3 in the cache, but you don't know whether 0x3, whether you don't know whether 0x3 is here or here or here or here or here or here. You don't know because this is just data, right? So this is just 1 byte of data, which means that this is just 8 bits of data that you have stored here. But you don't know that this particular 8 bits belong to 0x3. So where do you store? How do you know that it is 0x3's data? So how do you know that it is 0x3's data? Any answer is fine. Are you able to hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. So how do I know that it is 0x3's address or data?
So we can use the principle that we used in that valet parking.
No, valet parking, there's a difference, right? Valet parking had the car had the number plate, and you are seeing the number plate. So you knew whose car it is by seeing the number plate. So which means that the car had a sticker attached to it, which was telling you what is its car number. But here, this data doesn't have, here if you think about it, here, this particular data doesn't have a sticker associated with it. It's just a car, but without a number plate, right? Because
sir, its address is there, right? So we can.
No, where is the address? The sticker.
Maybe we can attach the label to it.
No, wait. Before it. Amit, where is this 0x3? This is, I have written this, but it's not in the hardware. The 0x3 is not there.
Oh, okay, sir.
Right. So this 0x3 is not there. You have just, I mean, you have to keep this 0x3, right?
So we should store both the address and the data, right?
Yeah. So is there any other way to do this without storing the address and the data? So in my previous design, now you can see the beauty of my previous design, right? In this previous design, did you want the, I mean, do you have to store the address?
No, it was not required.
Because, right, you know that where is 0x3, you know that this is 0x3. So now you have come up with a design where I have to know the address, right? So is everybody convinced that you should know the address?
Sir, while accessing the data from the memory, you must know the address, right?
Yeah, so let's say the CPU generated 0x3. You go to the main memory with this 0x3, okay? You fetched it and kept 0x3 here.
Yeah, before keeping it, we can do what we did in valet parking.
No, in valet parking, the car had the address attached to it. But here the data doesn't have the address. This data, if you look at it, it's 8 bits. It might be just storing some 0. Right? Maybe somebody has represented character as character A is equal to 0. Right? So it is just storing 0. It doesn't have 0x3. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have 0x3. So how do you know that this data here is 0x3? Understanding this is very important. Generally, people skip this, but you should know that this data doesn't have an address associated with it. Okay. Can you answer the poll if you understand what I'm trying to say? Okay, I think most of you have understood except 2 people again. But anyway, so if you have questions, please ask me. But the idea is that you brought 0. So let's see how it behaves, right? So let's, the address that was generated was 0x3. You went to the main memory, you kept the data that is belonging to 0x3 here. You kept the data that is belonging to 0x3 here. and then you give back, and then you maybe give it back to the CPU. Now the address that was generated 0x8, so you went to the main memory, you fetched 0x8 and kept the data that was there in 0x8. What is this data? The data was there in 0x8. This data, this whatever that 8 bits were there, you kept the same 8 bits here, and then you gave it back to the CPU. Now when the CPU generates 0x3 again, you don't know that this particular data is belonging to 0x3. So to know this, the only way out so please don't confuse it with the valet parking. Valet parking, when you drove the car and stored it in the location, right? So when you have these locations, when you store the car here, the way you searched for the car is you looked at the number of the car. So which means that the car already came with a sticker attached, but here you don't have a sticker attached, right? So this data doesn't have a sticker attached. So which means that you have to come up with it. So the cache design doesn't look like this actually. The cache design has one more component, as you might have guessed by now. So the cache has something like this. So if it is 8 bytes cache, I have something like this. I have a small, tiny notation like this. So this is called a tag. This entire thing is called cache. So cache has two parts to it. Both are hardware components. One is the tag component, the other is the data component. So it's a tag array and a data array. So and then you have the main. Okay. So now how do I do this? So when I bring 0x3e, I copy the data of 0x3e here, but I also store 0x3e here. Similarly, I store 0x8 here and I copy the data of 0x8 here. So when the CPU now, after this particular thing, when the CPU has generated an address 0x3e, what do I do?
I will check in my tag array and then fetch it.
Yeah, so which means that I search in the entire tag array, which means that I search all the 7 locations, which means that if you think about this, this will be a mux and a comparator, right? So there will be 8 comparators and then there will be, so I check whether there is 0x8, 0x3e in any of this particular location. If there is, so now I search here, I search here. I search all of them in parallel because I don't want to waste time, because I want to have it as fast as possible. So I search everything in parallel. So I search all of these 8 locations in parallel, and it figures out that there is 0x3e in this particular location, which means that the data here is what I am looking for, and I give it back to the CPU. So which means that this was not in the cache, so this was a cache miss. This was not in the cache initially, so it was a cache miss. But this is a cache hit.
Sir, is it possible that 2 locations in the tag are 0x3e, or do we take care of that while inserting?
Yeah, so when inserting, so why do you go to the main memory, right? So there is no need for you to go to the main memory at all. So when can 2 addresses be there in this? I mean, when can this be 0x3 when you have brought 0x3 again? But why will you go to the main memory to bring it again?
Okay.
Because you have already hit in the cache.
Okay.
See, once it is hit in the cache, you don't go to the main memory. You just service the data from here itself. So once there is a hit in the cache, because the third time when it was asked 0x3, you searched it here, you found a hit, you actually service it back to the CPU.
So, but when you write something to it?
Yeah, when I write, when there is 0x3, I write it to 0x3, which means that it's a hit. I update the value here.
Okay, it's updated. Okay.
Sir, one more question, that what value do we override? Like when we take from main memory, we override some tag, right? So
Yes.
is it done randomly, or there is some?
It's a good question. So what do you think should we do?
Like we should override that value which we are not using
Yeah, but how do you
frequently.
think about that?
Yeah, so that I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting topic, not just for this class, but it's an interesting research topic which has been there, which has been bugging people from decades. It's called the cache replacement policy championship. Even your seniors worked on this. So I'm assuming you might have guessed by now what is your third phase of the project. You'll actually be writing a cache-based system. So you'll be attaching cache to your pipeline, and you will be coming up with different replacement policies, like what Aditya asked. One is frequently used, one is recently used, one is whatever. Right? So we'll see, of course, in this course also, we'll see what are the different replacement policies later. But you will actually be implementing them and evaluating them, which one is better.
Sir, can we like add a count variable in the tag with tag also, so that we can know that?
Yes, yeah, you can do any crazy trick that you can think of. People have tried out anything that you have thought of. People have, like, I mean, there are so many such, like, you can just Google. I'm not just making it up. If you just Google cache replacement policy, you can, at least according to me, you can see at least 300 to 400 research papers that people have published. Yeah, I should ask me what is the Intel 7 processor using. They never say what is the replacement policy, because it's an internal document. But people have reverse engineered and written hacks and figured out that they actually use something called RRIP, re-reference interval prediction, whereas AMD still uses a replacement policy called LRU, least recently used policy. But people have come up with different replacement policies. But anyway, we'll not get into it. And for Devash's question, can two addresses be the same? Actually, the answer is yes, but you will not be seeing why the answer is yes in this course. You will be seeing actually in the either advanced computer architecture or in operating system course, but we will not get into it. There can be a cache scenario where there are two addresses that are the same, but in two different tag locations. But for this course, we'll assume that such a scenario does not exist, because we are not even talking about anything about operating systems. Okay, but before removing away all those things, I hope at least the basic idea, basic premise of the cache is clear, right? So the question is, why do I need a tag? In this course, as I keep saying, we will not add anything where we are not convinced. I mean, it's not because an Intel told me that to add tag, right? We have convinced ourselves that we need to have tag, or else there is no way to figure out what is the address that I'm storing. So you should convince yourself that this particular hardware is needed. You should convince yourself that this particular hardware is required. If it is not required, it is not in our design, because this is our CPU and we can do whatever we want. Okay. So if this is clear, okay, go ahead. Yeah, to the replacement policies we'll come. Maybe in 3-4 classes we will be discussing about replacement policies, but we'll go step by step. Okay, so now since you guys don't have any question, I will ask you this particular question. So now the CPU generated an address 0x3, then the first time, let's say it generated 0x3, you go to the main memory. Will you fetch only one byte? Like let's say your house onions are finished, right? So you go to the market and try to buy onion. Will you buy only 4 onions that is required for that particular day, or will you buy 1 kg, 1 kilo of onions?
Generally 1 kg.
Generally 1 kilo, right? So I'll go either buy 1 kilo or 2 kilo or whatever it is, right? So now the CPU has generated an address 0x3, and this girl has traveled so far to the main memory. She has run to the main memory and asked, but will she bring only 0x3 or can she bring more?
I think, sir, she will bring more, so that because that byte is being accessed, it is a high chance that the neighboring byte may also be used.
Right. So what Amit Bhai is saying, right? So what is he saying? He is saying something about spatial locality. So what is spatial locality saying? If there is an address X that is accessed at time T, then there is a very high chance that X plus 1 address will be accessed at T plus delta T. And why do you think, and again, this is not a characteristic of the hardware, but it is coming from the program. And why do you think spatial locality exists? Let's say I write int X. Are you accessing 1 byte or 4 bytes?
4 bytes.
4 bytes, right? So which means that the CPU generate an address 0x3, 0x3f, and 0x40, 0x41, so on and so forth, right? So it would generate a series of addresses, or at least it will generate, I want 4 bytes from 0x3. So it means that this girl should not be just bringing 1 byte, but some number of bytes. And it is not just writing in text. There is one more very frequently used data structure where it adheres to spatial locality. What is the data structure?
Array.
Array, right? So if I declare an array, right? So int a of 100, then you are sure that if I access a of 3, then there is a very high chance that you will actually access a of 4. most of the databases that you can think of, most of the programs that you write, they use some kind of array or structure of something where the data is spatially related. Of course, you can write programs where you are not spatially related to each other, but it makes sense for me because this girl has run so far. I will not bring one byte, but I will bring a chunk of bytes. Let's say she brings some chunk of bytes. Let's say she brings, instead of 1 byte, we have to modify this design where she brings, let's say 2 bytes. Okay, let's assume that she brings 2 bytes. So now how does this design look? So the design no longer looks like this. You have a tag. There were 8 locations in the tag, but now I'm clubbing 2 bytes each, which means that do I need 8 tags or do I need any less number of tags? So now
4 tags.
4 tags, right? So now instead of having 1 byte each, right, initially it was like this, right? Instead of this, now I will club 2 bytes and say that this is one location, right? So I will club this and say this is one location. So it will have something like this. I will have 4 locations with each having its own byte, right? And I need to have only 4 tags. So this is tag, this is data, and this is main memory. So now if the CPU generates, let's say the CPU generated an address 0x3e, this girl will run and not fetch 0x3 alone, but let's say, okay, let's say the CPU generates an address 0x0, then this girl will run to the main memory, will not just bring 0x0, but she will also bring 0x0 and 0x1. So which means that I am storing 0x0 here and 0x1 here. Of course, this is the data, but I am not actually storing 0x0 or 0x1 here. So do I, in the tag, should I store 0x0 or should I tag 0x1 here? What should I store here?
0x0, and for checking, we can check for a range.
Yeah, so that's a good answer, right? So I will store 0x0 here. Okay, let's say I stored 0x0 here. And later the CPU generated 0x1. Now what do I do?
We can
The
check
data-
that the difference is 1, something like that.
Yeah, can anybody tell me any better design for that? I don't want to do difference and anything of that sort. Okay, the better design gets a prize. I know that I have to send for a few people. As I said, I have been very, very busy, so I'm not able to send anything, but I will do it by.
So you can have a rule that you only store multiples of 4 or something.
Excellent, but how do I then?
And so when you're accessing from the main memory, if you're accessing 0x1,
Mhm.
instead of 0x1, you fetch from 0x02 and 0x1. And
Okay.
here you always, in the tag, you always store a multiple of 4 or 2 or whatever you decide. And when you're
No,
searching
should it?
for
No. Should it be multiple of 4 or multiple 2?
so how many bytes are you storing in a location? Depends on that.
No, we already said that we want to fetch 2 bytes.
So here it should be multiple of 2 because we are taking
Yes.
out 2 bytes at a time.
Yeah, so then, okay, so multiple of 2, then what do you do?
Yeah, so you just store the even number. So if you want 1, you just check the previous number because the lower even number is what you would have tagged it as.
Okay, so what Devashi is saying is this. So when, okay, let's see how this behaves, right? So when I fetch 0x0, I will go to the main memory and fetch 0x0 and 0x1. Right? That's what you're saying. If I'm wrong, if I'm wrong in interpreting what you said, this should be no. If it is 0x1, I will again go and fetch 0x0 and 0x1.
Yes, sir.
But if it is 0x2, I will go and fetch 0x2 and 0x3. If it is 0x3, I will go and fetch 0x2 and 0x3. So I'm always fetching a boundary, or I'm fetching the multiples of 2. That's what I'm doing here. Now, in the tag, should I store the entire 0x0? So now, let's say, okay, let's assume that this was an 8-bit address. So which means that the number of locations in the main memory was, let's say I'm generating 8-bit addresses. Okay, let's say the CPU is generating 8-bit addresses. The size, the bit length of the address bit is 8 bits. Okay. How much locations can there be in the main memory? How many bytes can be there in the main memory?
2 per 8.
Yeah, but why are not others saying about it? Okay. Are you following? Because this is which we already saw, right? If there are 8-bit addresses, like if there are 3 addresses, right? Then if there are 3 bits in an address, then I can access 8 bytes, right? So the first byte address will be 000. The second byte address will be 001. The third byte address will be 010, right? And we already agreed that we'll always access a byte and not a bit. So if the CPU is generating 8 bits as an address, the number of bytes in the main memory it can access is a maximum of okay. Can anybody else other than Devashi say answer?
2 power 8.
2 power 8, right? So why is that confusion? 2 power 8. So I can access 256 bytes in the main memory. Forget about the cache. I mean, let's forget for the cache about now, till now. I mean, for now. So when the CPU is generating an 8-bit address, it can generate 2 power 8 different combinations, which means that it can access 2 power 8 or 256 bytes. Can you answer if you have understood this? Forget about the cache. If the CPU has generated 8 bits as an address, then it can access 2 power 8 or 256 bytes. Yeah, please, and if you are saying yes here, please answer, or it's I mean, I'd be very scared that you have not understood this also. Yeah, okay. So I am assuming you have understood. Okay. So now, what was I storing in the tag? So if it was an 8-bit address, what was the size of, how many bits were you storing in this particular tag?
8 bits.
8 bits, right? So I'm storing 8 bits here, 8 bits here, 8 bits here. So I'm storing 8 bits because for a particular byte, it was 8 bits. Okay. Now my question, when I did not club these 2 bytes together, but my question is, do I need to store 8 bits or can I do it with lesser number of bits?
7 bits.
Yeah, who said this answer?
Manjunath, sir.
Okay, why do you think it's 7 bits?
Like it will be even and odd, right? The last bit.
Yeah, right. So if you think about this, right? So what is this address? This address is 8 bits. So it is 000 000 so 4. So this is one address. This address is actually 0x0. I'm just writing it in hex, but this is 0x0. And what is this address? This address is 1 2 3 4 9 5 6. This is one other address. Okay. And what is this address? It is 0 1 2 3 4. And what is this address? Okay, these are the addresses. Instead of storing 8 bits, if I store 7 bits, what happens? I'm storing only this much part, only this much part, only this much part, and only this much part. Why am I not storing this bit?
Because it is changing. Like we have 2 values for this.
No, I know that this is 0. So I'm storing 7 bits here, and the 8th bit is 0 here and 1 here. This is 0th bit, 1th bit, 0th bit, 1th bit, 0th bit, 1th bit, and I'm storing only 7 bits here. Do you agree to this?
Yes, sir.
Right. So I am fetching 2 bytes together, and why am I fetching? Because the program is behaving, because it's using spatial locality. Since it's using spatial locality, I am bringing 2 bytes together, and I'm bringing only multiples of 2 together, which means that irrespective of what is accessed, if it is accessed 0x1, I bring 0x0, 0x1. And instead of initially keeping 8 bits here, I am keeping only 7 bits, because the 8th bit, the least significant bit, anyway 0 means this and 1. So now how do I access the cache? So when the CPU generates an address 0x say 3, right? So this is the CPU has generated 0x3. It has generated an 8-bit address. So how does it look like? It looks like this, right? It looks like this. It's a CPU generated address, so it looks like this. Now I use these 7 bits to search in the tag, and it might be a hit here. Maybe I have stored 0x3 here and 0x4 here. They are data of 0x3 and 0x4 here. So this will be a hit because it is storing this particular 7 bits. Okay. Sorry, I think I wrote it wrong. So I've stored 0x2 here and 0x3 here, the data of 0x2 and 0x3 here, and I've stored here 000 and 001. I've stored 7 bits here. So it will be a hit here. So this is a hit because it's in the cache. And then I use this 1 bit to pick what? To either pick this particular byte or this byte. If it is 0, I'll pick this byte. If it is 1, I'll pick this byte. Now, does this make sense? Or anyway, I'll be repeating it again, but I'll give you some time to think about it. Just think about it and let me know if there are any flaws in this design.
Sir, one doubt I have, like the data size is still 8 bytes only, right? But only the tag size is being reduced to half.
Data is not 8 bytes. What is
This
cache size?
Yeah, cache size.
Cache size is still 8 bytes. I have just clubbed 2 bytes together, and
And
it's just a
that-
virtual clubbing.
And that tag like array thing is only 4 bytes, right?
Yeah, now the tag size is reduced. Initially, when I was not clubbing, I used to have 8 entries.
Yeah,
Now I have only 4 entries,
yeah, okay.
right?
Hmm.
I know some of you might not have understood, but I'll give you some time to think about it. Yeah, go ahead. You are saying something?
So no, sir, I am muted by mistake.
Sorry.
No, sir, I hit the unmute by mistake.
Oh, okay. Now you know about spatial locality. You have designed the hardware. You know that people have designed the hardware because of spatial locality. Now will you write? Now can you tell me why linked list was slower? Yeah, linked list will be slower in such a design, right? Because you have designed the hardware, assuming that there is spatial locality, but linked list just messes up with the spatial locality because you are accessing 0x3, maybe you're accessing 0x0, and then instead of accessing 0x1, you're accessing say 0x5. And then instead of accessing 0x6, you are accessing 0x8, which means that the cache is always giving you a miss, which means that you are always paying the penalty of 200 cycles. So even though it's cool to use linked list, hardware doesn't think so.
So when we're allocating memory for the linked list, does it try to maintain contiguous as much as possible?
Yeah, as much as possible. If your malloc is good, it is, but it's not always the case.
Okay.
So the way the malloc works is malloc is just a library call. So malloc internally calls a system call called sbreak. So it does the same thing what this girl is doing. So when you ask malloc to allocate 2 bytes, it will not just go to the main, of course, malloc doesn't have any access to the CPU. So the malloc will go to the operating system, and operating system, there's a command called sbreak, which is a system command. It will say somebody is asking me 2 bytes, and it will give you a huge chunk of data to the malloc, and the malloc will internally manage this huge chunk of data. But there will be fragmentation. I don't know whether you know what is fragmentation, right? I can just keep freeing up, right? So it means that the space is getting fragmented. So the malloc does all this. So one of the interesting questions that we ask in the PhD interview is, can you implement malloc? I mean, can you implement malloc as at least write a pseudocode? Of course, that if I teach operating system, I'll be teaching you how to write malloc. But malloc does try to do that, but it's not always guaranteed that is possible. And it is not always possible also. That's why if you use a standard std vector, right? You can use std vector. std vector does not internally use linked list, but it uses a policy where it will. So when I push one element, let's say I declare an std vector and I push one element, it will not allocate only one element in an array. It will allocate say 100 bytes or 100 locations. So what std vector does is it will allocate 100 locations and it will push your value here. And the moment you are reaching halfway part, it will actually create one more entire huge array and move this array to here. So the internal copying happens. So maybe when you declared an STD vector, the size is empty. When you pushed one element, it will allocate say location for 100 elements. Then you start pushing. Like let's say you reach the 98 elements. Then it will actually create one more array, which is 200 bytes, 200 locations, and copy this half array into this array, and then allow you to push more elements. You are actually seeing that it is actually copying. I mean, which you could have. I mean, if you had looked at it without knowing CO, if you had looked at it, you would say that the person who has implemented STD vector is an idiot. Because why do I have to copy all the elements here? I will just declare a linked list. If he is pushing one after the other, I will just use a double linked list and maybe I'll keep tagging along, right? But that's not as simple as it sounds. That's why STD vector does this. Of course, not just for this reason, but in general. Okay, anyway, we are deviating a lot, but we'll come back to this. So I will repeat again whatever I discussed today. If you have doubts, please ask me. If you don't understand this, it's fine. We'll be repeating it again in the next class. But the idea is that once you understand this, you will be able to build on the concept, right? So what did we do? We said that we had a CPU, and then I hope everybody is convinced that we should have a tag. So there were 8 tags, right? And then there was 8 byte locations, each storing a byte. So 8 locations, each location storing a byte, 1 byte each. And then there is this main memory. So in the tag, the CPU is generating an 8-bit address. The CPU is generating an 8-bit address. So the size of the tag is 8 bits. So I am storing the address here. I am storing the address here, and the address length is 8 bits. So how do I do? When the CPU generates 0x3e, I go to the main memory, fetch the data that is belonging to 0x3e and store 0x3e here in this box. I store 0x3e here. Then the CPU generates 0x4f. I go to the main memory, I fetch 0x4f and I keep 0x4f here. And when the CPU generates 0x3e, I actually search in the cache. Of course, for all data, for all accesses, I search in the cache. So I search all of them 8 in parallel. I search 8 in parallel. And since there is address hit, I call it as a cache hit. And I read the data from here. I don't go to the main memory, but I give it back to the CPU. So the girl doesn't have to run here. It's a cache hit, which means that I already have it in the cache. All right. So this was a miss. This was a miss, but this is a cache hit. And that's where I get the performance boost, because this maybe would have taken 100 cycles. This would have taken 100 cycles, which means that the pipeline would have been stalled for 100 cycles. But here, maybe I read it in 1 cycle, which means that the pipeline stalls are minimal here. And you already know from pipelining that any stall is bad. But of course, I am not happy with this design, because I'm fetching only 1 byte. But since I'm going off chip, instead of fetching 1 byte, I want to fetch more number of bytes. And why do I want to fetch more number of bytes? Because of spatial locality, which says that if address X is accessed at time t, then there's a very high probability that the next address will be accessed in a very short duration, that is t plus delta t. And you can see it when you're declaring an array, or you're declaring anything that belongs to spatial locality. Right? So if I'm accessing address A0, then there's a very high chance that I will access A of 1. If I'm accessing something in this tag, then if I'm accessing one address on top of it, the next address I will access again. Right? So it's not that I go somewhere to the bottom of the stack and do something. Even if it's a queue, then I access one part and the other part and the other part. So most of the data structures that you see, of course, might use linked list, but generally they will other to spatial locality. And I am designing a architecture which I want to cater to as many people as possible. I cannot say somebody will write linked list, so I will not design a cache-based architecture. So now I adhere to spatial locality, which means that instead of going and fetching only 1 byte, I go and fetch 2 bytes. Now the question is, what are those 2 bytes I fetch? So one of the designs that we came up with, if the CPU generates an address 0, so first we'll write the hardware. So the hardware looks something like this. So now instead of having 8 tags, I have only 4 tags. I have clubbed this tags. So it means that there are only 4 tags, 1, 2, 3, 4 tags, each having 8 bits, 4 tags. And I still have 8 bytes, right? But each location now can store 2 bytes. Each location can now store 2 bytes. So I can store 2 bytes here, 2 bytes here, 2 bytes here, 2 bytes here. And then I go to the main memory and I fetch 2 bytes irrespective of how many bytes the CPU has requested. Even if the CPU requests for only 1 byte, I will fetch 2 bytes. So I have not reduced the cache capacity. The cache capacity is still 8 bytes, but now each location, instead of storing only 1 byte, it is storing 2 bytes. Now the question is, what will I store in those 2 bytes? So the one thing is, one design that you guys came up with is, if the CPU generates an address 0x0, I fetch 0x0 and 0x1 and keep it here. If the CPU generates 0x3, I go and fetch 0x2 and 0x3 and keep it here. So now the CPU has generated, let's say 0x2. I go to the main memory. I fetch 0x2 and 0x3 and keep it here. So now the data location is 0x2 and 0x3, and I remember the address for 0x2. Now then the CPU generates an address 0x4. I go and fetch 0x4 and 0x5 and I keep 0x4. Okay, this works because when the CPU generates again 0x2 or 0x3, I search in all the 4 locations. Now the number of tag entries have reduced. I search in 4 entries. Since 0x2 is a hit or 0x3 is a hit, I know which byte to read. So this is storing 0x2, this byte is storing 0x2, this byte is storing 0x3. But now I figured out that I don't have to store 8 bits in the address because I can store only 7 bits. And the 8th bit is inherently stored. It's like coming with a sticker. The data is now coming with a sticker. So I don't have to store 0 or 1. I know that this is the 0th bit and this is the 1th bit. This is the 0th bit and the 1th bit, because this has 2 locations, right? So 2 bytes are stored. So this is the 0th byte, first byte, 0th byte, first byte, 0th byte, first byte, 0th byte, first byte. So when the CPU generates an address 0x3, it generates 8-bit address. So it means that it is something like this. So I use the first 7 bits and I'm storing only 7 bits here. I search in this, it's a hit. Now I'm using this bit, I know where to go. Should I go here or here? I know that this is the first byte. So this will definitely belong to 0x3. So I will read this and give it back. Are there any questions or doubts?
Sir, if CPU in the beginning, if CPU asks for 0x3, so we will fetch 0x3 and 0x4.
No, that's what we agreed, right? We agreed that it will always be multiples of 2. If it is 0x3, okay, what am I fetching?
Then you will fetch 0x2.
Yeah, it's not even my design, right? It's Devashish's design. So I'm just a like what you say. I am
mediator,
right? So yeah, excellent. Yeah, I'm just a mediator. You guys are coming up with the design. I'm not saying this design is right or wrong, and it's not even Intel, right? So now Devashi is like the architect for this cache. So, okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, if there are no other questions, one thing I wanted to. Okay, that's not here. Okay, so the other thing was about the lab. Sorry, I could not attend the Thursday's lab, but I hope you're taking the NASM, NASM seriously. There's a lot of material available on NASM. I didn't want to point to all the material because I mean, you just get overwhelmed, but start using it, and this will be useful in your compiler course because you will be building something using NASM itself. And it will also be useful in operating systems. It will be using, I think they are also starting a minor called cybersecurity, system security, and all those things. For any security related stuff, you will have to understand the assembly code. That's the only way people generally hack. So this is an important topic. So please don't take it lightly. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me or BTS. I work on NASM, so I will be able to help you. But even if I don't know, I can always figure out.